The time is upon us at long last. The time to win. The time to walk away with some profits in our pockets. The time to take something away from Wall Street and be smiling in the next hour's time. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another beautiful day and another beautiful live stream. So, as you're tuning in on YouTube, remember to hit the thumbs up. If you're a new viewer, you can also consider subscribing to the channel. And with that being said, remember our disclaimer, which is that day trading is risky. Do not trade with money that you cannot afford to lose. It's always best to go slow in the beginning. If you're a new trader, utilize small size, utilize paper trading simulators to practice and improve, hone in on your skills, become competent before exposing yourself to a ton of risk. With that being said, remember copy trading does not work. And in addition, remember my results are not typical. On top of that, I do not invest money for my subscribers, so be very careful of fake accounts. And now the last and final reminder. Also be on the lookout and be careful of fake advertisements as well. If you do spot a fake ad, help us out in reporting it. People do steal the trading team content, Relentless trading content, to try and run ads, sadly. So what's on the watch list and what's not? What's moving up and what's not? Pre-market highs on BJDX, which is third on the list, up 117%, 54 million shares of volume. So this one, are we a farmer runner from a few days ago? Yes, we are. And so those levels are no longer super relevant, meaning that we pushed through so nicely. However, here today so far we gave a nice move early. It was at 6:50 a.m. Not bad. Nice big push. We pulled back. We held up initially, then broke down through the VWAP, retook the level, and it's been a nice move here really all the way to 720. Since then, we've pulled back a little bit more, and we're now in this ABCD red to green area where we have rejected the VWAP and now going back down to previous lows. So this will need to hold up 380 area, here, and then hopefully can retest the VWAP to potentially curl back up and then give us a new high. I would have watched this into the open if it was holding this flag and trying to break out. In that case, we could have had a potential early trade on this one, but being that it's down there, I think maybe I throw it to the back burners, to the back of the list. BJDX. Let me start writing it up. How about TTRX? How are we doing? By the way, I didn't trade. This is my like second or third day straight not trading pre-market. TTRX. Today I had no choice. Couldn't trade. I was out and about early o'clock. 79. 49.79 for highs. We pushed up to 34.58. And then we're now back at the VWAP or below the VWAP really at 24.27. This doesn't look bad. I don't think it looks bad. It just comes down to, can we maintain volume into the open? Volume has been decreasing. If we look here at the 5 minute, is it the 5 minute? No, it's the 1 minute. If we look at the 1 minute here, volume has been decreasing here over time. So if volume increases into the open and we can get through the VWAP back to 30, 34, starts to look pretty good for a retest of 50. If not, probably not much there. TTRX on the list. Okay, moving on to GLTO. GLTO from a few days ago. Honestly, I don't really love the setup here. The big move came and went like yesterday's news. Today, from a high of 36 a few days ago, today we're bouncing up to 14 seems more like short sellers covering, and that this move might die out early. So honestly, I'm not really interested in even putting that one on the list. If it proves me wrong, if there's breaking news, I could check here quickly. If there's breaking news, then maybe it makes more sense here. Let's double check. I hate when my first source doesn't work. Now I have to check another one. News, GLTO. I'm checking Yahoo Finance here. What type of nonsense is this headline like? Second quarter earnings 2 months ago. I think this is the one that, yeah, because SPRB had news. This one didn't have any news. I don't think. This was the one Ross took the loss on, right? Yeah, I don't think this one had news. I'm not touching this one today. I think this is short sellers covering, and then, once they done, that's it. It's just maybe going to get shorted again. Okay, moving on to ATCH. By the way, I got to start up my screen recording. ATCH looking okay, cheaper stock. If the stock proves me wrong, great. Then that means we get another stock with opportunity, But for now, I have my guard up on that one. Is my screen recording? Okay. ATCH. Pre-market highs, 54 cents. We've pulled back to lows around 47.7. Not too bad. I think I'll put this one, I'll watch this one into the open on the other screen. Let me drag it over here. Boom. Doom doom. Looks good, looks good. All right. Everything is so slow and laggy. Okay, ATCH. Time, I got 5 minutes. ATCH daily chart. Nvidia up to 192, looking good. ATCH, we had a big move going back to September 12th, going from about 26 cents over a couple of days to 192. Since then, we've sold off to lows of 39 cents and ripped up to 88 cents. Since then, we sold off again down to 35 cents, and today we're at 54 cents. It seems like the bounces are getting weaker and weaker since the last move. So, I mean, I think this one will have a little bit more opportunity, but it might not be going up to $1, I think the expectations need to be clear here to not overtrade and fall victim to thinking we're going to get a new high, if there's no indication for that on the chart, right? So 86 cents, is probably the potential for this one. Making an educated guess. Still a guess at the end of the day. If it goes up to $10 today, great. Then it beats my expectation and gives us even more opportunity than we would have thought. Okay, looks all right. Other than that, BAOS, how are we doing? BAOS. Not doing good. Not doing good at all. This looks terrible. Can we see a red to green out of this one? I'd say less than 3% chance. But I guess that's still something percentage-wise. So it's at least worth keeping in the recents. That way, if it does start to move, we can pull it up quickly. Remember the ticker symbol, but it doesn't look that good. AMBO. Volume on this one. AMBO. Also doesn't really look that great. I think into the open, I'll watch BJDX and ATCH. ATCH honestly looks best. The best, but BJDX, we could see the support trade hold up here. So with 2 minutes to go, and people are cutting down trees outside of this house again. I don't know why. So maybe there's going to be some background noise for the Discord. With a minute 50 seconds to go, I want to remind myself to be disciplined, to be patient. As I'm getting ready for the open here, I want to confirm my share size to start the day, which will be smaller size to start. If we do get something looking really good, we can always increase size rapidly to try to maximize our gains. But until something proves strength, no need for me to be overly aggressive to potentially wipe myself out here in the first minute of the open and hit a max loss. That's the worst thing. So longevity for the day is key. Pacing myself throughout the day is key. And managing risks to the best of my ability is also key. So with that being said, I think we're good to go here. There's the watch list for the core stocks. I'll post it and then ready to go. I see someone in the chat asking if I'm live. I'm already live. I can try and grab the link here again. And by the way, I gotta turn off the scanners. Gotta turn off the scans. All right, guys, let's trade smart. Let's trade to the best of our abilities. Let's be disciplined. Let's be patient. Another beautiful day, and we can feel very confident that we'll do well as long as we follow our rules. So BJDX into the open here. I'm curious to see if it holds up this 380 level. There's a big seller. Bro, holy shit. I gotta mute my mic. GLTO is moving up a bit. Again, no news. Got to be a little bit more careful here. BJDX is back up. My mic is going to be muted, it looks like, most of the day here because they're cutting out some trees. I would have went to the office if I would have known. I'm going to look for us to make a higher low versus our previous support. I think if it does pull all the way back down there, it's just like, you know, struggling a little too much. It does seem liquid, which is good. Can we see the 1 minute candle make the new high? Can we continue to hold up support? BJDX. Our last low was around 90 or 89. So far, we've been holding up at 4, which has been good. Can we continue to hold up above 89 and then potentially make a new high over 10 and then 17 to get closer and closer to those pre-market highs? Terrible fill right there. I'll take the 8 cents. Okay, okay. A little bit of a churn right there. Can we hold up? Can we see back to 410, 415 and hold our previous levels here? That's the key. KB, KB, KB. How long has it been since I said KB? 2 weeks? KB. K of the B. Will this one hold up and give us something here? KB. Oh, I gotta mute my mic again. Hold up. Damn, that evaporated down, man. Didn't even get a chance to cut the trade. TCRT, TTRX. How about TTRX? How are we doing? Dang, man, I could have done without a 10-cent loss there. 10 cents to cook me. To boil me in oil. TTRX. Looks like that one's getting back to gains. There's like a 40-cent spread. Hmm. It's back to 90. Like I don't know if you know our last candle has been so brutal that it's hard to tell if we're gonna see the V shape at the green. GLTO halted up. There might be an opportunity there in the resumption. If there's enough volume, I could attempt something here, but I'm gonna attempt it. What's it gonna be? I'm using smaller size as well. Alright, alright. We can live with that. It needs to hold up 90 again, because if it goes back to 80, it's like just too much. KB, talk to him for us here today. Okay, okay. I'm waiting. I'm holding 1,500 shares waiting. Can we see over? Holding. Okay, good. Cutting it and waiting. We need to hold 90. I mean, you know, maybe 80 ends up holding. GLTO. Let's check it out. GLTO. Halted up in the moon. And this is the one I was saying I didn't think was going to do anything, right? So hopefully it can beat expectations and go all the way to 30 today. That could be pretty good if it does. And it's back to 4 again. 80 was the support, yes, but you know, being that we got up to like 420, would have loved to see the higher low. The good news is that it's holding above 380 still in terms of like the lower levels, but we want to pull away into the new zone. And highs right now 15, 20. VWAP is at 27. Resumption time 13 seconds. Holy smokes. I'm not ready for this. 1664. Okay, here we go. Watching. Only small size. Watching with more size. Can we dip? Can we dip? Can we dip? Can we dip? Damn it. Sizing back down to baby size. We didn't really get the dip. Watching and waiting. Damn. I did not get that properly. Sold break even. I don't know. I don't think it was super clean there. Keeping to small size. Okay, there's a new push to 18. I don't know. This spread, I think this spread is just too much, man. Can we hold up 16, 17, whole dollar? Risky trade there. It's going to pay off for the dip. Small size still. The spreads are a bit much once it does start to go down. GLTO. Tight stop here, 17 in a 20. Can we see over 40, 50? There's 50. I think over 50 we should see closer to 18. What is it going to be? And freak. Paper handsing it, bro. Why did I sell? Why? My last attempt right here. I'm back in again. If it doesn't go this time, that's it. Holding for 18 plus. Diamond hand style. 20-cent risk. Back in at the whole dollar. If either this trade works or I stop out at my risk, nothing more, nothing less. Taking away all the complications and trading firmly. What will it be, up or down? High or low? And I'm gonna get cooked for 50 cents. Great. Alright. That was about my risk, no problem. $14 gain there over those couple of trades. $14. That's how much I used to make at my first job at Home Depot. Still keeping the perspective here. Okay, rotating through all the watchlist stocks, AMBO. I do have in my aligners here, so if I sound like I have the lisp. How about ATCH? Are we on a red to green here? This could be interesting. Back over 50. Is it too late already? 47.7. I'm going to take a really small starter just to see what it does. And I'm willing to add if it does erupt. If not, just risking very little here. There's some buying. I added. And 48.8. It's just not moving quick enough here. Still a relatively small size for me though. Not looking to risk a ton. This is like a breakout setup, right? Like, I remember like just last year, stuff like this, just already at 60 cents on the right stock. And you want to know what the heck is going on, if it's even real what you're seeing. That didn't do anything for the bear flag breakout. So maybe it's like a longer hold type of a trade, less volatile, slower moving uptrend. Could be the case. I gotta switch back to BJDX. How's it doing? It looks like pre-market was hot though, right? From the charts that I saw there. But these days, of course, it doesn't really mean it that the open will also be hot. Last year, it was pretty much confirmed if there's a good pre-market, there's going to be an even better open. This year, you can have extremely hot pre-market and then nothing. We're back to 93 again, BJDX. I definitely like the volatility of this stock, but could we sustain a move and get over 450 is the key. Right now, we're still below VWAP. think ATCH is not the one for me, so I'm gonna move on to the next. Sometimes you gotta treat these stocks as if you're speed dating, right? Just on, just on to the next. Next caller. So right now I'm on the sidelines and I'm waiting patiently. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit the thumbs up. For those of you in the chat room, I hope you guys are doing well. Danny, Dennis, Bob, Hollis, Odin, and others. BJDX at 97. Holy smokes, 4. I'm sleeping here. 4, what was that? 410. Falling into some daydream there. Okay. If it gets over 417, it really looks good, especially if we can hold that level and continue. For now, I'm kind of on the sidelines here, just waiting. Do we have what it takes? We'll probably need a green candle with high day volume on the 5. About 5 million shares of volume over the course of 5 minutes and consecutive green candles on the 1 minute chart. For those of you watching on YouTube, right? The chat room is still open for a few more days for you guys to check it out. And then we're gonna close it off again. The people who are here now for free for the last week, you know, we are going to remove you, but we thought it would be nice to give people just a look into the chat room just so they can see what it's like and, you know, what it means to be part of the community. For those of you who haven't checked it out yet, there's still a couple more days. If you guys want, I can send the link. We can't make the chat room free because then it's just not fair for the people who are already here. And then on top of that, this just helps us to keep things more filtered, you know? We've already had to ban so many accounts because there's so many people who are sometimes trying to do nonsense. And then other times you have the scammers, the people who are messaging everybody in the chat. $405. It might just end up teleporting up, and hopefully it does. And if it does, it needs to hold 417 and not collapse back down immediately. I wouldn't mind, even if I missed the move. We teleport to 450 and then, you know, we give a new consolidation. At that point, we know this thing is strong for sure. I don't want to get involved again because I don't know, I feel like it just could go to any price support-wise, you know? Like, I don't know what the support is here. I mean, 380, yes, earlier, you know, but it just seems kind of tough to be in with certainty to know that the lows are going to hold where I'm in. So for those reasons, I'm not touching it. There are some others, though, in the chat room, like Lagom here, dominating every one of these trades, which looks really good. High precision and accuracy, getting it done. Guys, the next day trading team house is going to be in January of the new year. The boys have went a little soft, I suppose, here with the slowdown that we had in the year. Of course, I wanted to do at least 2 more for the rest of the year because, you know, they're so fun, but sometimes it doesn't, you know, the logistics doesn't work out for everyone's schedule. I honestly, I mean, you know, I might probably could. I'd love to do one, you know, honestly, like every 2-3 months, every 2 months, really, six times plus a year, and then eventually maybe even have a permanent team house, and just, you know, such a cool idea. A permanent team house. I guess you know, I could make it happen if I really push. Maybe next year we'll see it. The permanent team house. ATCH is at the $0.50 again. ATCH at 50 cents. I'm not gonna get involved with this one again unless it breaks the highs. GLTO. So I'm just gonna keep an eye on BJDX, and then if this one sells off, honestly, maybe it's just another slow day here. Barcode. Barcode. I never heard that one before. That sounds good. The good news is that it is wedging a little bit, but are we going to go up or are we going to go down? I guess it can always keep going sideways like this too. But typically you get like a bigger reaction in one direction. One direction. I wonder if that band is still alive. Anyhow, BJDX watching from the sidelines. One scratch trade dash one scratch trade. For a great trader like yourself, the moment there's another hot stock, boom. One scratch trade. BJDX, you know, still fighting. After I shut down the live stream yesterday, we had a stock that halted up that gave two nice resumptions. I didn't see the first one. The volume is also light, so I don't think I would have had size. And even the second one, I came in, I'm like, okay, it's up a little bit. Let's not overdo it. You know, it's a slow day already. So I took just like 200 shares or something small, and thing ended up ripping up nicely. So sometimes we've been seeing the last few days is a random halted stock that turns out to be decent. It goes up like $3 a share and then right back down. TTRX. Not much there. I'm going to give the watch list stocks another look through here just to see if something else might have moved up. GLTO, not much. BJDX, still waiting. BAOS, not much there. ATCH, not much. AMBO, not much. I got another 30 minutes in me, and then I'm out of here. I know I've been leaving so early, right? I know, but the market needs to give me a reason to stay. Last year, again, you know, you come in, there's a stock, even if you have to wait 10 minutes. And then once that stock is done, there's another stock. And once that one is done, sometimes there's another one, or there's like a third leg, right? The same stock might go, even if it consolidates for 15, 20 minutes, there's another leg. And so you're just, you know, you're just so in tune with the momentum. It's always fun. It's never like slow. I don't like the waiting for hours for something. When I first started, I used to sit for 10, 15 hours straight. But now I'm out like salt if it's slow here. What's crazy is that that's one block. I mean, if it is one block, at least it's good to know. Maybe the float is also slightly higher on that one, but at least it's good to know that, you know, that type of size is easier to take. Ah, this is hilarious. $500K size. 500K size. 500K size. PRSO hitting the scans. PRSO, how are we doing? Lows at 79, highs of 90. Do I want to throw out a starter on this one, or is this nonsense? There is volume, which is good. I'm going to throw out a starter. 100 shares. Can we get back to 90? If it turns out to be nonsense, low risk. If it does go over 90 and it's high volume, then I can increase my size and look for break of 2. If not, then it's just nonsense. Couple cents there. Does it have what it takes to rip through the highs? Or is this a bluff? We don't typically see high-day momentum stocks in the open anymore. So you got to be very skeptical to these opportunities here. It's like companies, they don't release headlines during the open anymore for whatever reason. Maybe they just get a better result pre-market, so they just do it in pre-market after hours. Or they're releasing headlines, but it's just not getting volume. Either or. It has potential. It looks okay. It might go. I hope it goes. The halt is at 218. If it takes off. Oh, this seller is nothing, man. Come on. Okay. Ay, 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 ay. It's not continuously ripping, which isn't a great sign. We'd love to see 95, 98, $2, 203, 208. It's more of a grind up over 90 there for the 1 minute candle to make the new high. Not the boost. So maybe the longer hold times, which means breakouts are not going to be my best friend here. I gotta watch to be in low and potentially have a longer hold time as a result. So, okay. Understood. Now will we see a sweet dip? And of course the question is always, if we do dip, where are we gonna go? How far down? Watching and waiting. There's 92. Taking 85. Not the best fill. We had 82. I'm gonna add and then watch for the move back up. My average could have been a little bit better, but 5 cents of risk for the potential move back up to $2. I'm gonna cut half. There's some selling pressure. Can we hold? So we got a dip. The dip, not instantly back up, but fighting here at the VWAP. Okay. All right, despite the efforts there to be in low to hold a little longer, we're getting stopped out. So this one's going to turn out to be a bluff here. Christmas tree. This is where you sing the Christmas tree song as we collapse back down. Gotta keep it tight. If not, you can still be in there and losing on the way down. First pullback, no good. Which means I'm out of that stock and not looking back. Okay, so that's like half our profits there, which isn't good. And is there anything else? BJDX. BJDX looks like it's cooked. GLTO. Back down. PRSO. That's the one we just looked at. Well, I got another 15 minutes here. Up $268 after that loss. Might be the place to shut it down. We probably should have shut it down already. We gave back 200. Back to scratch trade. All right, that was a good one, Steve. You gotta admit that was a good one. Ah, classic mighty man, classic mighty. Bro, what is this market pretty open right now? Like, we just need pre-market to just die so that the open can be hot again. Or I need to just trade pre-market every day with a successful strategy. Either or. I think the second one makes more sense. Got to trade pre-market every day with a successful strategy. Right now, my pre-market strategy is in the depths. Got to continue to adjust. Honestly, it's like if you can hit your daily goal in pre-market, like just imagine what that means, you know, in terms of having to win to your back by the open if the open ever is to be hot, and or just in general being able to walk away literally at like 8 a.m. Right? You can do at that rate. You can really just do anything. You can even still have a full-time job where you're going into an office or building or whatever because you're done so early. I know some people in West Coast time can do it because you know it's like 5 a.m. They're up, they're done by 6:30, then they can leave out and then maybe do another business as well. But East Coast time is not bad either if you're able to dial it in. Strategy, 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 strategy. Bro, it seems it's so simple, but like it's so hard at the same time. Like what I need to do in pre-market is hold my winning trades longer. Hold my winning trades longer, much longer, like at least like 60 plus seconds. And instead of just making 20 cents, I can make $2 plus a share. It's the easiest thing ever saying it out loud right here. That starting tomorrow I should be able to do easily. Why is there a problem? Gotta be disciplined. So looking forward to showing up tomorrow and locking in some nice trades. If you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hands and make it a reality. If you've never heard that before, you've heard it now. If you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hands. The manifestation is real, but we have to put in the work and be disciplined in the moment to confirm it. BINI? Not much on it. I think I'm going to shut it down here. I just don't like what I'm seeing. I mean, it's early. I'm upset I gave back $200 in that trade. I got filled high trying to get 85. If I was lucky, maybe I could have gotten 83 fill, which would have been great. My stop was 81. I would have lost anyways because the trade failed. Instead, I sold the position at 86 and bought it back at 82 to re-average, recycle the shares, looking for the move back to 90, which would have been a 20-cent trade. Let's just say I would have made 14 cents. You know, it would have been in the trade plus like 280, 300, somewhere there. Actually, this thing is opening up somewhere. VINI. I think this one is going to be another bluff. If VNI looks like another bluff. Let me know if you guys have any quick questions here before I'm out like south. Let me know if you guys have any quick questions. Why do you only stay for 1 hour every day? You used to trade more throughout the live stream. Well, I kind of just explained that, which is that it's a little slower. On the days where there's nothing, man, it's like, you know, I guess I wouldn't say mental capital because I have mental capital. I could stay here till 12, but when you stay here and there's not a lot going on, it's like the chances of losing is just higher. On a stock like I just traded where you could say it's not the most obvious opportunity compared to stocks we've seen before. Let's say out of the open, a bull flag, opening surge. Okay, there's a high chance this is the stock, right? I gave this thing a chance. It had high volume. It was curling up. Turns out to be nothing. How many more of those are going to come before something good, Is it worth risking what we have to potentially make a little more in a day where the opportunities are not as obvious? Probably not. They're great. Did I miss anything today? Pre-market, we had some good action. It looks like I wasn't here for pre-market, but the open so far, not much. I want to buy a stock at $5 and see it at $50. Well, honestly, opportunities are here, right? Opportunities are available, but I'd say you have to be doing your research. You have to also be in a community of people who are looking for similar things that you're looking for. Maybe a swing trading community, and a good one. And then on top of that, when the time is right and you put in your work, you have to be willing to take the risk. Whatever amount of capital that might be that you're thinking of, you have to be willing to take the risk and also have your stop loss in the trade. You're treating it like a day trade almost, other than the fact that it's just a longer hold. You still want to have your risk, and of course, if the stock has that type of potential, shout out to Mighty. Mighty took DJT when Trump was getting elected, in at like $10, out at like 65. Crazy swing trade there. I think it took 2 weeks. For you to get that in one day, it's a little bit more difficult. One of these stocks could do it, but even then, like, there's just so much that has to go right for that type of like black swan trade to work that you're better off just trading a consistent strategy and making money every day. And then when you're doing that, what could potentially happen is that, you might have a day where you're doing well and you say, hey, you know what? Let me let this trade ride into this halt up. I've seen that a couple of times, like over the years, right? You can let trades ride and they turn out to be like, way more than you would have expected. Before you know it, you have a good cost basis. You're saying, okay, you know what? I'll hold this thing into the halt. Typically, I'll take profits here, but let me hold, see what it does. I'll have a trailing stop. Before you know it, stock resumes $2 higher, rips into another halt up, and it maybe does this 3-4 times in a row. On a scale of 1 to 10, on a day like today versus like an actual hot day, today is like 0. Like there's nothing today compared to what a hot day is for small caps in this time frame. LASE in the depths. If not Patrick Whelan, Team House. I always say this, Patrick Whelan. I like his style, right, in terms of like personality, like with the adventurous stuff, like the fishing and like the swimming stuff. Like it seems like he seems like a Team House guy, right? I honestly wouldn't mind meeting him. I think it would be cool, but the Team House for me personally is, there is some business because we'll record content, but outside of that, it's just like having a good time. there's business first. Like we'll do everything first, record all of our stuff as we're trading, you know, the videos, and then outside of trading hours, when trading is done, you know, it's usually like hanging out, trying out new restaurants, and seeing what the new city, because we're usually doing a new city every time. You know, if a guy like Patrick says, "Hey, let's go skydiving," I'm gonna be doing it, man. I'm gonna be jumping with a laptop too. I'll take the cheapest laptop I can find, and I'll be the first trader to take a trade 30,000 feet in the air. As long as my parachute is not the one to malfunction, I'll be fine. I like my odds. I like my odds. Now, Ross at a team house would be pretty interesting. I think for a lot of us, there'll be a lot of things we could learn, you know, about trading, maybe a couple things, of course, and then outside of trading as well, business wise, you know. At the end of the day, these people have like walked the path that you're trying to walk in terms of success. And so even if it's just a few things you can learn, that's all it really, you know, that's all it really takes. And it's always it's always a good time. And so I'm pretty sure whoever does go would enjoy themselves. I actually spoke to Humble Trader before, and she told me that she wouldn't mind going to one. So maybe we have a Humble Trader team house at some point. Humble Trader. And when I spoke to her, shout out to Humble Trader. When I spoke to Humble Trader, it felt like I knew her for years, you know? We had like a long conversation, like a video call. Humble Trader, if you're listening, shout out to you. One of the goats. One of the founding goats. The people with the big channels that put out a lot of good content, you know, you gotta respect it. Because a lot of the times without those channels, we probably wouldn't be trading, you know? Like for me, I did see some Ross stuff early. I still don't remember if it was Tim Sykes or let's just say it's Ross. I don't know if it was Tim Sykes or Ross that my brother saw the video of. Like, you know, it was a recap saying up 10,000. Here's how we can answer this question, right? If Tim Sykes doesn't post recaps, then it was definitely Ross. So maybe it was Ross. Let's just say it's Ross. That's how I started trading, right? If if that video doesn't come on his YouTube feed, he doesn't even come to me that day with, "Hey, look at this guy saying he made 10K," and I'm still in school. I would have been a CPA at this point, doing something else. So BANI still pushing up slowly, although not my speed. The level 2 is a little too slow, not as volatile. And this is what happens when I'm here and not trading, right? I'm just like talking about random stuff. People in the comments, they tell you, what's wrong with you guys, man? I can't talk nicely about other traders. Um, what was I saying? Yeah, you know, if it wasn't for those people that came before, a lot of the times we wouldn't have been inspired to try, you know? So you got to have a lot of respect for these people for putting it out there, sharing some educational value. And here's the pastor doing it himself, right? And I've created a few millionaires, which I'm pretty proud of. So shout out to the students here. See, swing trading full time, I don't know about that. Like, unless I'm doing it more actively over a couple of days swing. But the swings that I do now are longer, as in like weeks or months, more like it. And they're more obvious swings too. Major economic, downturn like we had for the tariff war thing. Like that was just so that was a good one because it was a bluff, you know? Like he did it before too. It was a bluff. Like we're not gonna crash the economy over some slightly better margins, you know? But what's hard, I think, for a lot of people, even myself, is you know, you gotta really be able to look past the media because the media will make it seem like there is no end to the selling, there is no light at the end of the tunnel, and that we're going to zero. And you can have like so. Actually, one of my neighbors is he a financial advisor? Something along those lines, right? He works for a big bank. And he's telling me like people are calling every day considering like selling their positions and they're convincing them like, hey, we're just going through some volatility right now, to hold tight, sit tight. Like half the clients, more than half the clients calling in to try to sell. And they're like, hey, like, this is not as bad as it seems. So you gotta imagine this is happening at like most firms. So the key is, holding through dollar cost averaging in and not buying all your money at one time. I think that's general information, but still good to say. At least that's what I'll be doing, right? I'm not a financial advisor, which is important to say here, but that's what I do, and it works. And the next time I'm gonna go way more heavy. I'm gonna I'm gonna do whatever. Like the next time, I'm willing to like get whatever type because I have great credit, and credit is risky business. But because I already have this skill of trading. Like there's no starting from zero anymore, right? Like I want to get my hands on the maximum amount of money I can. I'm not gonna use leverage because I think then that would be a little too much risk. But I'm gonna take out the maximum amount of money I can, and by the end of the next downturn, I will be quintuple my size here. Now, in the moments, when I log in and I see a red P&L of down, whatever amount, that's where you have to look at it, smile, and say, all right, as I'm averaging in slowly, I know that over time, over months and years, I'll be exactly where I need to be. As long as it's not a depression, because then that'll just take a little too much time to recover. If you're using capital that's borrowed. Let's see. Nothing really hitting the scan, so still. Let me see what you guys are saying. Yeah, we had the talks about Humble Trader. Shout out to Humble Trader. This day trading world is a small space. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody's aware of everybody. Even if you think they don't know you or you don't know them, everybody knows everybody. Small circle. Having a partner, would it affect your trading? I don't think so, not at all. I don't think having a partner can affect your trading unless maybe, well, maybe it could. It could, but it depends on the circumstance and the situation. But if this person knows that, this is something you're pretty passionate about, you're working towards it, or it's something that you do as a career, then they should have that, that respect towards what you're doing. If you're someone who's red or trading very small, not just your partner, but everybody really, if they don't understand, because, no one else is living your life, right? People will not understand why you're doing what you're doing. I remember I brought a friend to my house and I showed this guy what trading was like the potential of trading. And he was excited to start learning until at the end of it, I told him I'm in a simulation practicing. And it's like all the lights in his eyes just died immediately. And he's like, you could just see it in his face. Well, this guy, he's just wasting his time here. Why would I possibly go and try to learn this thing if even this guy is just practicing right now? I mean, that was fine. That's his decision, no problem. But still a good friend to this day, right? Pretty cool guy. But some people will not understand, and that's fine. And in fact, you don't even blame them because this is a path for you, and you have to understand that it could be a little lonely in that aspect, right? Some people, they'll do things with a friend, a partner, like, hey, let's, two friends, hey, let's go apply for this college together. Let's go apply to this school. Let's go apply to this job. At the same time, maybe we'll go through the orientation and the learning, the courses together. But sometimes you just got to do it by yourself, even when nobody else understands why you're doing it. Everyone in their own mind sees something else as success, which is fine. But if you're seeing this as your avenue, your partner needs to get with the program or at least just respect it, Nothing more, nothing less. We understand it's not easy, but at the end of the day, nothing is easy. Every business is hard, no matter which one you choose. There's always going to be risk, and there's always going to be reward. We just have to keep working every day to become the better versions of ourselves that we see performing at that level, because that's what it comes down to, right? If you can improve and the best version of you can do well, then you have nothing to worry about other than going through the process. If the best version of you in your mind is not able to be successful as a trader, then it's probably not the best thing to keep going, because you don't have the confidence to sit through the bloody battle that's ahead, because you're gonna get sliced up, right? That's the reality of it. We're gonna get punched in the mouth, uppercutted, kicked down, slapped in the face, slapped behind the head, everything. And then finally, and even for the traders who've been green right away into their trading, everyone saw some issues over time, like certain weeks or months or days where they had a problem. So no one is safe in that aspect, and that's what business is. Ultimately, everything is risky. I forget that older guy that has those quotes. He said, from the moment you were born, it was risky. We work our day jobs and we think that it's safe, but at the end of the day, the companies can always go bankrupt and lay off workers. Certain industries can change. Certain levels of education can become obsolete. So at the end of the day, no matter what it is that we choose to do, there's going to be risk. Being from the islands, parents were always set on being like a doctor or a nurse. And even with that, there's risk, right? I mean, you just look at something like the pandemic. You have to go to work in this type of environment where, you can catch an infection and that's it. So it's all risky, right? Some careers you make a mistake and you're fired. In our career, if we get too emotional, we can blow up an account. There's risk everywhere. Why am I back with Thinkorswim? So my Guardian account I still have. In fact, right now I have to like reset my password. So I'm not even able to log in today. Um, I've been trading in pre-market the last 2.5 months primarily. I lost 6,000 in pre-market. So earlier I just mentioned like 8 minutes ago, I need to continue to improve my pre-market strategy in terms especially of holding longer. So, pre-market trading has been going all right. We have to just keep working on making those adjustments to be better. Guardian, I think, is really good for that situation. The fills are pretty quick. It's really good. Some people do use Thinkorswim through DAS as well in pre-market, but if you ever hope to be like Ross, where you can take 50,000 shares on a $50 stock or $30 stock, Thinkorswim is not going to be able to help you get to those levels of profitability. Like you'll need a broker that can handle the speed and the size, you know? So being that they were banning accounts anyways, like one of the conversations we had behind the scenes, like myself and the team house traders, even for the like half of us got our accounts banned, half of us didn't get our accounts banned, right? Like Tim, for example, his account got banned. Like I was one of the lucky ones because I think I was red on the year. Well, not on the year, but like that drawdown pretty much I think is what saved me. Some other traders who were red also I think got lucky. Not to like call any names or anything, but a few people got their accounts banned, and like we were like, man, like why don't we just stop using this nonsense, and boycott everything? And then after I went to DAS, one of the issues I had is like importing to TraderView. So if I pull up my TraderView, I'm not able to import there for some reason on aggregate at the end of every month. And it's like, bro, I need to keep track of my stats. This is one of the reasons why I came back. Because while Thinkorswim has free commissions and all these things, at the end of the day, the fill is still sometimes like, it's like not ideal, It's like a lot of times you'll get filled fairly high. Whereas with the other platform, the fill is so fast that wherever you're buying is all the time. It feels like a sim almost. As crazy as that might sound, the fills in a direct access platform feels like you're in a sim account. Like the moment you hit buy, boom, like it's like that exact second your entire position is like in the trade. Unless the stock is really, really just moving, I haven't really had issues with too many partial fills, just a few. But yeah, like the fills there are good, but at the same time, you kind of need to see where you are, and it's like it almost feels like you're trading blind at a certain point, not uploading your stats at all, So one of the reasons I also came back. Over here, it's like the sacrifice of like no commissions to get a fill anywhere versus getting the exact fill, but then a small fee. The days where I did really well on Guardian during the open were the days where we saw momentum, reminiscence of last year's momentum. A lot of days not worth trading into the open, especially when there's nothing, like a day like today. Thankfully, BJDX was a little volatile in the move through 380 to like 420, but even that was choppy. If that stock in itself doesn't come, like there's nothing to trade here. Like nothing is volatile enough. PRSO I thought was going to be okay, just Christmas tree. I'm pulling up my calendar here. Like, all I know is that I'm down 6,000 between the last 2 months of small trading, and I have no trader view at all to like actually see the data. This is July and August of this year. What a freaking year, man. Just look at all these red days. What a year. So back on Thinkorswim here, I can like import again and like actually see like numbers, you know. This was last month, slower month, just 3,700. This year, I can show you guys the calendars for this year. I know I haven't really been making like recap videos, but January, okay month. Although we should have been up like 90,000 plus because this month was hot. This is a month where if we hold our trades 30 more seconds, 200K on the month. If we're to hold our trades 10 more seconds, 70K month. Like this, that's the difference on this freaking month. I remember so many trades, man, like being in and just taking that 30 cents and there's $1.20 a move. Because you remember when you're using size, especially, there's no, you know, it's exponential, right? February of this year. Ah, man. This was not, you know, this whole year hasn't really been the best, but we'll take what we can get. And we're definitely looking to finish out strong. March, my first red month in 3 years. Very brutal here. First red month in 3 years. March of this year. And then April, small bounce back. Small bounce back. May, this is when I realized like there's an issue, a relay. I mean, I knew it was slow, but like I'm like, oh, this is a problem because then I had a red month again. It's been 3 years since I had a red month, and I have 2 red months in 3 months. You know, right here, like down 8,000 after the fees. Here, let's go to net. Let's go to net for May. Boom. Minus 8,000 on a month is madness. This is madness. June. Scratch months. Big red day here. Bro, a lot of this too was like just getting, a lot of this stuff was just getting cooked in the spreads, like, and being a little too headstrong, you know, a little too stubborn and not sizing back down. This is pretty much when like they started banning accounts, I think, back in July 1st, maybe, or late June. And also not using your account too, you know, I think helps you to fly under the radar, right? The first person to do this in our chat room was do you guys remember Dynamo? Some of you guys will remember Dynamo. Dynamo was ahead of the curve a long time. This is somebody in our chat room that would make like 20,000 a day, right? This guy already stopped using his account since I don't know if he knew somebody or what. Maybe he did, I don't know. Of course, Dynamo is not his real name. That's just like a chat room name, so nobody will know who he is. Don't worry, brother, your information is safe. He stopped using the platform since like April. He was 3 months ahead of the curve somehow. He had the crystal ball. But at the end of the day, if all of our accounts are to get banned, who cares? You just use another platform, Guardian, Sage, Webull, TradeStation, TradeZero, E-Trade fills. I have E-Trade Pro. The fills on E-Trade Pro, here, let me show you guys something, right? Just BJDX. In fact, just for this example, I'll use 500 shares. I'm going to actually just test this out, right? Tools, order entry. I'm just going to buy 500 shares and sell 500 shares right away. Market order. The only issue with this platform is that they don't have hotkeys. And maybe there's a way to connect DAS. I gotta double check because if you can connect DAS to this platform, the fills, if you want like Thinkorswim kind of fills, is the same thing. Like, so look at this, right? Stock, BJDX. So buy 500 shares, sell 500 shares. You know, it's like there's the order like Thinkorswim. I used to trade on this platform in 2020 exclusively. Now, if we come over to Thinkorswim, BJDX, buy 500 shares, sell 500 shares. There you have it. We can do it one more time too. BJDX, E-Trade, in, out, boom, boom. All right. So if you can connect hotkeys there, for me, I don't want to be hitting the buy. I used to hit the buy and sell button, click it physically here or on my other screens, but I rather the hotkey, man. It's just, for me, it makes it a little bit more straightforward. So gonna shut it down. I'm gonna shut it down. E-Trade Pro. Why did people accounts get banned? Here, I'll tell you why. If you go to a casino and you win too much money, they're gonna ban you from the casino. That's the exact reason why people accounts got banned. A lot of these guys, they made up millions. They're trading made millions of dollars. So it's just crazy though. But it's this is life. This is not nothing new. This has been what it is for a long time. Just another day. Another day. Old saying, chew gum and walk at the same time. Yeah, I traded in real accounts. When I used to trade in a sim account in the earlies, like 2019. But I would tell people that I'm trading in a sim account. There's nothing wrong with trading in a sim account. You just have to let people know. It's so crazy because if I log out right now and I log into my sim account looks this exact same layout, except there's like an orange outline of the platform at the top. And I think right here, instead of connected real-time data, it says maybe paper trading, I think. But my layout was the same, my hotkeys were the same. So when I switched over to live, like I had that familiarity already. There was nothing new or any curveballs to try and get me. I traded with real money, lost 4,000 over the course of a year, taking 3 trades every 5 days. And then I went to the sim for a year, and that's where I became a little bit better. Like 2018, you know, 3 trades every 5 days was like a waste of time. If I had known about the sim, I could have been way better. Then 2019, 1 year of the sim. 2020, we were ready to go live by January of that year, but we were still like getting all the money together. So May of 2020 is where I went live officially. But the first year was like gruesome, like just watching a chart, like not really taking trades really. which I think was like a hindrance. Second year, traded a little bit more. Back then, I definitely didn't trade as much in total. I'd say like 50 trades a day max. Maybe a few days where I traded more than that, but a lot of the times, like really just focusing on the best setups, breakout trades primarily towards the end of 2022. Shout out to Troy, man. Whenever I go to Texas, I'm gonna check out Troy for sure. Troy from Dallas. So this guy is a guy that followed me on Instagram, right? Just like how everybody's watching. And he's messaging me on Instagram every day for like 4 months because he's convinced that I needed to start buying dip trades. Shout out to the audience. You know, even without the audience, I definitely wouldn't even be able to make it this far as well because people like that, right? And I'm like, I first saw one of the messages. I'm like, man, this guy has to be a scam. Nobody is reaching out to me this much to try to do anything unless they're trying to like gain something, you know, like in a bad way. And then one day I'm like, you know what, man? Let me see what this guy is on about. And I actually had a video call with him for like, we ended up talking for like an hour or two. And like he ended up setting up his computer, showing me like his charts and like certain areas to look out for dips. And then this is like October of like 2022, maybe even summer of 2022. I think like summer, yeah. Summer, yeah, like June, yeah, it was warm that time, like June, July. You know, started experimenting with some dips, started taking more trades. How do you gain your confidence back after a big loss? That's a good one. You know, typically it starts with accepting the loss first and foremost, accepting what happened and then trying to move forward from it. And so in doing so, when you come in the next day, you want to try to not bring that baggage with you as hard as it might be. You want to come in and try to focus on the best opportunities, even if it might mean a bit of trader rehab per se, sizing down a little bit and just aiming to be green for that day. And one of the bigger keys is not trying to come back to revenge trade, meaning make it all back and make it all back quickly. You know, a big loss can be recovered over time. And with you trading A quality setups, if it happens to happen the next day or within the next few days because the market just happens to be hot and you had the confidence to size back up and trade the setups and strategy that you know and love, that's the way to do it. That's what that's what it's all about. But coming in with the mindset of like sizing up even more, or I need to keep pace with a certain level of profits, you know, that mindset of falling behind can put you in a position to do things that you wouldn't want to do otherwise. So clearing your mind of anything like that and just saying, hey, you know what? I had a big loss, whether I made a mistake or I managed risk a little poorly or got too confident, whatever it might be. The next day is a chance to come in and start again fresh and to remind yourself of your rules. Also, if there's any lessons that you need to take from that big loss with you into the new day and in your trading in general, you know, that's what you do. You write it down and you come in and the aim is just, hey, small green. Ross lost big lately. Yeah, I saw that recap actually. But, you know, let's be honest, right? For a guy like Ross, who's such a good trader, being down 100K plus is not that bad. No, he himself wouldn't want to be down that much, but you know, like he's a great trader. You know, his red days are few and far in between. His big red days are way far and few in between. You know, the guy will be right back tomorrow, right back the next day to doing what he does best. You guys know I got a lot of respect for Ross, man. Like I keep saying this, not because of the scanners or anything. Like the guy is just good. You know, it's just simple. Like the guy is a good trader, right? I know we'll all get some sort of like slack for trading publicly, but whether the guy is live, not live, like the guy is a good trader, you know. But being in that type of position is the goal though, to where you can even you can afford to risk that much. I think I know a lot of people look up to me, but I also look up to others as well. Even the team house guys. It's always great to see everyone, and it reminds you of what you can do as long as you keep pushing forward. Marcelo, one of those great traders, Tim, Crispy, monster trader, Save, monster trader as well. Drew, shout out to Drew, man. Who was the first trader in our group to cross over 1 million, who inspired a lot of us too. You know, back in 2022, I think back in 2022, this guy already made over 1 million. The Algo himself, great trader, very disciplined. Also, one of those guys, once he's in front of the screens, he's locked in. Like, just, Tim is also like that too. Just locked. These guys are locked in. Yeah, and shout out to all the traders in the chat room who are coming up right now, right? Big Steve doing an awesome job. Dash killing it. Hollis, Momo Bro, Derek. You got guys like SF, Jimmy B, who are, putting in the hard work every day. And there's some girl power too, right? Shout out to Shay. There's 2 girls in our chat room who are monster traders. Shout out to Shay and shout out to Alice, who are doing like 1K plus every day. They're really killing it. And then there's a lot more people who are doing well who will never post that they're doing well because they're just more private individuals. And then outside of that, you have everyone else who is working to get green, some people who might be red. We had one of our traders last month was down 240K in the chat room, right? So we do have some people with, various level account sizes and risk tolerance who might have had a rough patch and looking to size it back down and regain that confidence and keep pushing forward. And so there's perspective, right? Where a guy like Ross is down 240K in a day, someone else is down that amount in a month, and someone else is down 2,300, 23,000, 2,300, 200, $23 maybe even, right? All depending on the size. Just one day at a time, slow and steady. What happened to Tim's channel? Tim had left. Tim was a part of MMU for those of you who might not have known, but Tim ended up leaving MMU. Still a good friend of ours, of course. But Tim is more like of a private trader now, I'd say. He still shares in the chat room because the chat room is our home. Well, in terms of being like super out there, when you start to make a lot of money, which happened to these guys, like a guy like Tim came in and almost like within like a year, like of course trading for 5 years. We don't want to forget to say this. He's trading for 5 years and has made 16,000 in 5 years. Slow and steady learning the process. Finally clicks. And into that year 5.5, year 6, boom, 300K. Boom, 1 million. If you're on YouTube and you're posting videos talking about, up $100, when you start to post videos of up 10,000, because you got to remember these people, your family is also seeing this thing. People in your neighborhood might be seeing this thing. Like, it's much bigger than you at that point. You have to know you have to know and be careful of what you want to put out there, because people will look at you in a certain way, and depending on the person, that could be even good or bad, right? So if someone starts to decide to like, kind of like pull back a little bit from being like, because the chat room they'll post in there because only traders are in there and only traders can understand, you know? When you're just posting to the world like how I'm doing, like you could get anything in result in return. Hopefully always good, but let's be honest, there's you know, there are people that's not always good. So some of these guys will say, hey, you know what, man, I'm gonna pull back a little bit, close the curtain just a little bit, and be more of a private person, because ultimately a lot of people, their goal is to be a trader and not like a YouTuber, you know? They might have just started YouTube for fun to kind of see what happens, but was Trading Farmer part of your group? No, he's like a different group. Like in terms of like our team house, not quite. Although I'd say we did have like a brief acquaintance relation at some point for like 4 months until the guy went mad. He's probably watching and laughing, but the guy went crazy. Uh, let's see, hyper scalping. Bala trading, saying he was trading before everyone, hyper scalping wise. You know, I mean, like for example, right? Crispy and I we were talking. Like Crispy was telling me, like, yeah, like you know, some guys they've been hyper scalping for like the last 15 years, with commission platforms, right? And making money. Like they've been making money for like the last 15 years. The reason why I take credit for like hyper scalping is because I want to say like this channel was the first public channel that was sharing it. This channel was like since 2018. Like the day I started trading, I just started uploading. I have videos from back in I have videos from back in those days too. It's just that they're private, right? 2018, 2019. I even have I should have archives. I should have archives from 2018 somewhere. Even if I have to like dig for it, it's somewhere. It's in a hard drive somewhere. So I was like the first person to really like publicly start streaming and sharing hyper scalping. Back then we'd had like 300 people every day watching on, 200 people. Um, we'd post recaps. Ross back then actually used to go live. For those of you who are newer, Ross used to live stream on YouTube back in those days. Who else? Back then, Clay Trader was pretty big. I think Clay Trader will still trade every now and again now. He's also like one of the founding people too. A lot of day trading content in the earlies. Shout out to him. I don't really know what type of trading he does, but I know he posted a lot of like, you know, like informative videos on day trading, setups, candlesticks, things like that. But yeah, nobody else was really like scalping like that, like hyper scalping, you know? Ross was doing the traditional scalping of like, you know, 10, 15 trades a day, maybe 20 good trades in a day. Nobody was really taking like 50 trades, 100 trades. Thomas, I did not learn from the farmer, although that's what he would preach every day in his channel. This guy is just, if this guy's channel was still if he was still uploading, he'd probably still have been saying that same madness. Yeah, I learned a little bit from Ross, and then trial and error pretty much. Right? Ross's recaps, just like my recap, right? This is what I'll say. Ultimately, people they don't need to buy the course for anybody, because if you watch us long enough, what happens is that over time we have no choice but to give out the strategy, because it's just what we're doing, right? If you watch Ross for a whole year every day, you can eventually learn something day one. Day 10 again, you learn something else new. Day 30, he maybe shares something small that you learn something else, you know, besides the general like candlestick things, right? Now, what the course does is that it's everything right there, right away, that you don't need to go waiting a year watching every video, right? That's what the course is. So for me as well, there'll be people who learn from me that never watched a day of the course that are doing well, making money every day, right? These are things that everybody knows, right? Um, but in terms of like learning, watching Ross, again, some of those bigger name traders like John at Beginner Trading, like I learned a lot about the VWAP rejection from him actually. You know, there's a little bit of clay trade, well, a lot of Ross, John at Beginner Trading, maybe a few Tim Sykes, some humble here and there, psychology videos, things like that. But trial and error, like, okay, this is what a bull flag is. Let me go try and trade it to see if I can, like, get in. Because at the end of the day, it's not rocket science, right? High of day breakout. If a stock is giving a red to green, where is high of day and where should I be buying? you know, not saying it like that to make it sound easy, but in terms of like grasping where the breakout trade is, because back then I'd only trade breakouts really, right? So every trade is like a variation of the other, whether it's a halt, resumption, high of day, new move, new high, break at a pre-market high, red to green high of day, bull flag breakout high of day. Like all these things, revolves around the same core. So in terms of like learning, watching a lot of Ross recaps, trial and error, and then like becoming better over time, study sessions with other traders as well. But I could say confidently that I learned nothing from trading Farmer. And like I'm not saying that because he would talk about me. Like I don't have any feelings towards the situation, right? But it's more like honesty in the sense that there just wasn't anything for me to learn there, right? You got to ask yourself, if you watch Ross every day, right? What is there to learn from anybody? Really, just even the other people that you might watch. If you're trading small caps, at the end of the day, this guy just already has content on every single thing you could ever think about. Every topic of every scenario, of every situation. He already has 10 videos on every single topic. This is why I give him credit, because I actually watched him and learned. And like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I was the type of person to hide this thing, I would not be saying that so openly. Like, it's like I don't have a problem saying it because it's true. you know, if I didn't, I wouldn't have given him any credit because I would have learned on my own completely. But what I will say, and it's why I also say it too, even as someone selling a course, is why I can even still say that. Like, people have to understand how transparent I am. Like, I just even said, as somebody who sells a course, that you don't even need to buy the course if you want to play the long game. Who says that stuff as someone who sells a product? You know what I'm saying? The people gotta respect my honesty here. Um, yeah, so in terms of like learning, Farmer was a person who could have like been involved with us more, but after we put out a course, he kind of got a little weird, and that's where we kind of like pulled away. But before that, it was cool. Like, he'd show up on my live stream, like how you guys are commenting. He'd say what's up. I'd show up on his live stream, say what's up. Like a friendship that like now might be starting out. But once we put out a course within like, let's say we met today, maybe like 4 months later, we put out a course. And then within that, like after that fourth month, it got weird. So we just like, hey. So for me personally, it's no issue. But in terms of being honest of where I learned from, like, that's the story there. Tim Sykes, a little bit of Tim Sykes, but not too much because, the thing with Ross, that's good. This guy live streams every day. Tim Sykes might be a good trader, but I don't know anything that he does. If Tim Sykes is listening to me right now, right? This is what I'll say. Like, at the end of the day, like, I haven't seen a video of Tim Sykes doing any trading in ever, you know, versus I can click on Ross's video, see Ross doing something right here, right now. That doesn't mean Tim Sykes doesn't trade. Maybe he's trading for his private community, right? But in terms of like Ross would live stream the entire day, post a recap of the entire day every time. Like I don't know, maybe Tim Sykes does post this stuff, and I don't know. I don't know, but I don't see it, right? So like I'd give Ross the edge in terms of like that transparency. Some people might think like I'm giving him maybe too much flowers, but that's kind of like how I see it, like respect wise for like the bigger traders in the community. But Tim seems like a good person though. I mean, I never met him, but I met some people from his group, the Clover traders. Those guys are great people too. To Kyle Williams, the laptop legend. You know, I went to a conference where those guys were speaking, gave great information, great trading general that advice for struggling traders. What's the other guy? Edu Trades, also another good trader there. Those guys are pretty cool people too. The Clover guy is Jack Kellogg. Jack Kellogg is a big time trader too. I think he's like the same level of Ross, like 20 million plus in gains. Steven Ducks, another big time trader there. And then you have a few others as well. Um Acting weird. What do you mean by acting weird? What did he do? Well, the guy would talk negatively about like us relative to the course, like hey, these people are creating cheap nonsense courses and these type of things, and it's like brother, like just weird disrespectful stuff, honestly. So it's like, all right, cool. I'll just separate myself. That's what you do. I mean, some people can choose violence, but what I've learned in life is that every fight that you avoid is a fight that you win. Some people may not see it that way. And for me, it's not that I avoid conflict, because if I'm in a certain situation and conflict is what needs to be done, then it's conflict. But in life, sometimes you need to just position yourself, right? Not exert energy on things that is not worth it, right? The pastor has went through some rough encounters. So conflict is like, conflict is nothing that we haven't seen before, but in a space like this where it's all business, there is no need for conflict in a space like this. This space is all about friendship, networking, business connections, doing well, improving, things like that. Madaz, I never met him before, but I know he posts on Twitter. I like his transparency. I think I could say that. Don't know anything else other than that. I like his transparency. Legend. Jeez, can't speak. Made 1 million last month. Yeah, he's a solid trader, man. I learned a little bit from all, made my own style from Nasty. Is that Habit? From Habit in the chat saying he learned a little from everyone and made his own style of trading, which will also sometimes the um be the way how things pan out. Every fight that you avoid is a fight that you win. Is that the quote you're referring to here? I watched this channel called ASP, Active Self Protection. And it's like real stuff. You know, they'll review badge cams of police officers. They'll review ring doorbell cameras, surveillance camera footage of encounters with bad guys, as in like robberies and, you know, stick ups, um, gunfights. And, you know, when you watch this stuff, you learn very quickly that conflict isn't good. Every conflict you can avoid, especially in real life with physical violence, you know, you'll be, God forbid, but sometimes you might be in a position where you have to protect yourself and your loved ones because someone else is violating you and your rights or your property, and you know, you kind of have to do what you have to do. But other than that, if you're in a position where you can de-escalate and avoid, that's the way to go. You know, save yourself the headache, the lawyer's fees, and potential, you know, incarceration, because sometimes, depending on the laws, even when you protect yourself from a lunatic, you can still end up being the person getting charged, which is quite silly, but it is the law, it would seem. Gotta cover your ass. John, see, John knows what I'm talking about. John, shout out to John here in the chat. Yeah, their content is good. You know, I wouldn't mind shouting out a channel like that for anybody who is interested in self-defense, home defense, active self-protection on YouTube. You can definitely check out those guys. And also, they have some great sponsors as well. I mean, look at how I'm talking about these people, right? I mean, it's just good. It's a good channel. You'd think they're paying me to say this. They're a good channel though. They'll go over some good footage and critique, and it also shows you how difficult it is to be a police officer. That channel made me realize being a police officer is hard work, man. Risky business. I mean, we talk about risk, right? We take on risk here. These guys take on a different kind of risk, you know, because they have to run towards the chaos where average citizens are running away. They have to go and be that force to deter, protect, and or just diffuse, sometimes using a deadly force, of course. Interest in futures? No futures trading for me. Yeah, so H1 Media, great question. Has your perspective changed on money from making 100 in 5 minutes compared to a job? A day like today, we did give back, but you know, we're up to 65 after 30 minutes of trading. 265 in itself is not a lot of money. But when you do look at the fact that it took 30 minutes, granted that there are days you can unread, things like that, your perspective definitely changed on money. And you kind of start to get into this realm where, one, the stock market is very ridiculous and awesome in a sense. It's a space where so much money can be generated and or lost. There is risk. Gotta always mention it. It is the greatest accumulation of wealth in the history of man, worth X amount of trillions. And with a strategy, one that works well, you can come in and more times than not, take money out of the market. And when you realize this, I think for most of us who take on this endeavor to learn how to trade, it's because of that. Even if it might have been a success story from a friend or someone close, knowing that this opportunity is here or seeing it firsthand can really open up your mind to what money is compared to what is sometimes taught on a grand scale. Because, you know, I can't speak for everyone, but at least the schools that I went to and the schools that I know of, you don't learn anything like this tax wise, financial wise, even the most simple things like budgeting. If you happen to have a professor who just believes it should be in a curriculum, maybe they put it in, but it's not in the curriculum. Simple budgeting, taxation, finance, in the terms of, high level stuff. A lot of basic things are mentioned, but most of the times you're not really learning anything proper, especially in the high school level. If you go to maybe a better district or better, maybe a private, I mean, I don't know, maybe it's like different, but a lot of the things they teach are relevant, I would say. I think we do need to have a basic level of math, algebra, maybe even some basic level of calculus, right? Of course, science and these things are important, history, but you also have to learn a little bit more of the softer things, So after becoming a trader, what I don't believe in is like a job anymore. I believe in working for myself and being a boss. Now, that means I'll still potentially have to do the work of an employee, which is fine, right? Until you can scale. But to just say, I'm going to go work for $40 an hour, it doesn't make any sense anymore. It just doesn't make any sense anymore. Like, especially with how inflation is and how they're not raising people's income relative to inflation. It's like the people who are making $40 an hour 5 years ago, they were doing fairly well. Now they might be making $50 an hour, and it's like you're cooked, And $50 an hour, or salary wise, is really good for so many people still, and so many people are not making that. And in a space where I could make this money in this amount of time relative, I still have to make sure to say that I put in the years of work to get to a level where I could. If you start today, it doesn't mean you're going to make $400 in an hour today, right? But over time, as you put in the work, you could get to the level where you can see results, especially as you start to increase your risk. As long as the strategy you're trading is profitable and you're disciplined and consistent with it, then you can essentially, get to where you need to be. Like, I'll show you guys my trader view from last year, maybe for the people who are a little newer. Let's go to last year, 2024. In January 2024 to December 2024, just to like get a look at last year. And this is what business is too, right? You'll have fluctuations, detail. So we can look at net. This is after the small fees that we have. And then gross before the small fees is a little bit more. This is a small amount, not too much of a difference, but let's include the fees. So with the fees, we had $309,822.83 for an average of 1,229.46 per day. After making this kind of money in a day, I don't know if I'd be able to make this type of money at a regular job. So it's like, I might as well stay and just keep working on being better. I've been able to go from $100 a day to this, right? So it's like, I know the potential. I've done it. I've been doing it. Why not keep getting better at it to where you can do even more, right? Because the reality is, if I followed through in my accounting degree, even if I was a CPA, unless I had started my own business and was doing maybe taxation or something else, it would be so difficult to really, you know, get to that level. And even then, like you'd still, as a single CPA, maybe you're making 300,000-400,000 max, unless you really have like some real big time clients. I mean, it could go up higher if you have certain type of clients, but like an average CPA with their own taxation office is probably doing, 150, 200K, maybe, let's just say 300. I'm going to go high. Let's say 300K. And if you have high specialty clients, high net worth clients, maybe you're doing 500,000, 1 million a year, right? But with trading, it's like you can make 1 million a day in 1 hour, in 1 minute. So just knowing that that potential is there, my best day, I made 26,000 in 1 day, in 2 hours. So, going back to a regular job doesn't really seem to make any sense. Now, with that being said, if I'm in a position where a regular job to start off is my only option for income, that's exactly what I'm going to do, because it's the blueprint, right? To start to generate any sort of wealth, we need income. We need to find ways to increase our income, eliminate consumer debt, create emergency savings, and then, of course, save and invest, right? Or just invest at that point if we already have the emergency savings. Eliminate all consumer debt, big one, because with all the loans and credit card fees and the debt that's out there, it's easy to just have these liabilities, So with the trading gains, January of last year, a nice start to the year, 28,000 there. And this, I mean, there's traders here who are way bigger than I am, right? But for this type of month, you show up, you just look at the calendar, right? You show up the first day, 5,800, 2,000, 1,200, 500, 1,200, 700. It's just such a solid start already. Okay, there's some red days mixed in, but you still do all right. It's like most of this, like let's check this day here. Let's see where I stopped trading. Did I go till 4 p.m.? It looks like there were some trades. Let's see. It looks okay. This day went to 2:30 and I stopped kind of going sideways here. Most days I would say would end closer to 10 a.m. This day we gave back from a high of 2.9. We ended at 1:10 p.m. on this day. Looks like we took a loss, and I was like, bro, okay, let's shut it down. Yeah, I mean, even if you are trading a little longer, at the end of the day, we love trading, and the longer we're here, typically the more we can make, right? And so, here's a day where we stayed longer, it paid off from a $300 day to a $1,300 day there. Definitely paid off that day. This day we ended at 10:20 a.m., which is the time we would have ended today, because it's like just not much. The 11th, this is a day where we ended at 11 a.m., 2K. So, our best day ever in February, which was, bro, this week was madness, man. What a week. Jeez. I could have made way more, but anyhow, we'll talk about that a different day. Did I trade all day this day? We ended at 1:25 p.m., 1:30 p.m. on this day for 26K. What a day. Man, what a day. What a day. What a day. One of these days, like a madman, I went out shoveling snow for 3 hours. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. I could have made so much more, Was it this day? It might have been this day. 10:25, left like a madman. On these days, you can't leave because this is like hot, like the hottest week we might have saw since GameStop, you know? It must have been this day here because 10:20 and we didn't come back. I had a headache though, so I'm like, you know what, man? Well, on those days, you got to take I don't like to take pills, but you take the Tylenol, the Aleve, whatever you have, the Advil, and you got to keep it going. You got to keep it going. So day trading, you know, it can definitely be worth it. There's risk. You know, you can have a slowdown, but the money in this space is like no other. A lot of money can be made or lost. And I think, by the way, Twin, how are you doing? I had someone ask for you yesterday. Nikki was asking about you. I told her you're doing all right. Shout out to Nikki. I had a great conversation with Nikki yesterday. We spoke for like 2 hours, 3 hours, 2 hours. Yeah, like 2 hours. So every now and again, I'll have conversations with with people in the chat room. I'm gonna probably have a good conversation with Pre-Market Trader again. Cool guy from Florida, from Miami. I'm doing all the right things with money. Don't worry. I've been doing all the correct things. No big purchases really. The most expensive thing I might have bought was the car. As you guys know, the car got stolen, sadly, but that's why we have insurance. Um, I didn't get back everything, but you know, got back a fair amount. We did lose a scratch trade. We lost a good scratch trade, but all good in the neighborhood. Um, yeah, I think that's like the biggest waste of money, honestly. Like I had an older car that was giving a lot of issues, and I ended up buying a new car only to then find out that the old car, the issues that it had wasn't that bad. If I had only known, I wouldn't even have bought the car because my mindset is in this place where like physically I'm very like I'm doing well, you know. I don't need a lot to feel good. And so it's not that I don't treat myself because I do. You know, we'll have these trips and all these things, but I don't know. It doesn't take a lot for me to feel happy, to feel good. You know, as long as I'm eating some good food, a good night's rest. You know, every now and again I'll go take a drive or something. You know, hang out with friends, family. Like that's all life really is at the end of the day. Like trying to get way more beyond that is just a little unrealistic. You know. So all of what we were doing here has been the right things. You know, trying to eliminate consumer debt, save, invest, and you know keeping our heads down to keep grinding. You know, paying all the taxes. Um, Trade ideas versus day trade dash. My only experience with trade ideas was when E-Trade had a partnership with them. I'd say it's pretty similar, pretty on par. You know, at that point, maybe you go for price points. Or if you really like Ross and you want to support him, maybe there's that too. But other than that, price points. And what car did I have? My car was a cheap car too. I didn't even waste money on a car. I had a Q50 Red Sport. A Q50 is like the Nissan Q50 pretty much. They claim it's luxury of Nissan. I think it's just a decent car. I really like how the cars look, but mine was a little bit more aggressive. Like I had some 20-inch rims, so the car did look a little bit more aggressive, and I had a lot of black accents on the white paint, black accents as in spoiler, front bumper. So it definitely stood out a little more than like a normal car, but put the car under MMU. Scratch trade, scratch trade. If I didn't have insurance, then it would have been more than a scratch trade for sure. BDRX moving up a little bit. Mustang, yeah, Mustangs are pretty. Mustangs, I think, are maybe the best sounding cars, exhaust wise, in my opinion. When a Mustang goes by, man, they sound right. They sound very aggressive. For those people who are into cars and like the exhaust and things like that. I do not get the joke there, but okay. I think that is an Infinity. Okay, hold on, I gotta go up and read a little bit more. I think I might have missed something here. Minimalistic. Flat screen TV in the headrests? I didn't know they had those in these cars. Unless maybe you're referring to something else. Oh, okay, I see. I see. Now I didn't read the question properly. H pipe better than X pipe. The low tone and not raspy. Yeah, these cars are you can do a lot with these cars, right? Like depending on how much you're willing to spend. Uh they come at 400 horsepower stock, which is not too bad. I mean, it's not that good, but not too bad at the same time. But if you're willing to go the extra mile, bigger turbos, um intake, exhaust system, maybe bigger intercooler, and then of course a good tune. Definitely close to 550, if not more. 100 horsepower easily there. And then to go the extra mile, maybe like mixing the fuel, running E85 maybe, doing a flex fuel kit. Although at that point, it's maybe a little too much. Back is feeling great, man. I had to take some time off of the gym. Right now, I'm feeling like a young stallion. Now I'm feeling like I'm in my prime. The heart of a lion. Yeah, the car accidents are pretty tough. I've seen this video actually before trading today of a guy talking about a situation he had minding his own business, you know, and got injured as a result. Not to get too deep into that video, but the guy was in a wheelchair and was talking about how difficult it was to function. You know, I mean, it's sometimes just tough, man. You know, anything can happen at any time. We like to think that we're all immortal, especially if trading is going really well. You know, you can feel invincible, but at the end of the day, we're still all very fragile creatures. And so we have to be careful no matter our circumstance or situation, and always try to do the right things, although sometimes things will still happen. And even if it does, we make the best out of it. Because sometimes things will happen still. Yeah, crashing coming off the dealership lot is tough, man. That is tough. I don't know about bikes though, man. Bikes, I'm afraid of bikes because sometimes I'll see experienced riders where there's like a little bit of an indent in the road, and despite, you know, despite riding safely and doing all the right things, something like that can definitely mess you up. Or sometimes people just not paying attention, you know. Some people are not always following the traffic laws, and sometimes things can happen. And you know, the bike, you're a little bit more exposed, a little bit more risk. Being on the bike is like taking 10K size versus, you know, 3K size in a trade. Can maybe gain a better experience. You know, I have a feeling the wind up front like that. It's going to be better than a convertible any day, more than likely. But being so close to the action can be risky business. All right, I think that's enough yapping here. The people wanted me to stay, and I stayed rambling here for 2 hours. Now it's time to shut it down. Vitaly, are you here? You better be here after asking me to stay. If I go on a motorcycle, it's like, you know, off-road dirt biking is probably the most I would do. If I'm doing a motorbike, you know, off-road, like ATVing, dirt biking, kind of an excursion kind of thing, that's as far as I would go. Some people are into it, and if you are, it's just about riding safe and doing all you can to protect yourself. Because at the end of the day, there's going to be someone who rides a bike all his life, all her life, and nothing happens. And there's going to be somebody else in the most strong vehicle, maybe a Cybertruck, and then boom, you're still knocked out of the game, you know? Like, so you got to just live your life, man. And whatever you choose to do, just be safe, and that's it. Some people didn't even wake up today out of their sleeps, and they were perfectly healthy the night before. So, for those people here who do love motorcycles, you know, you do what you must. But I think it's a good place to shut it down. Good place to shut it down. We're talking about everything except trading here. There's still a few OGs listening in, some MVPs who maybe are also having a slower day. Or some of you maybe actually locking it in, but just love the rhetoric in the ears. What I can't wait to do is a massive meetup with everyone. Like, if we can get like 50 people at one meetup at one time in New York City next summer. Shout out to Rosario, by the way. Rosario, I think Rosario is the name. Who we met in New York. This is someone who's like in our chat room as we went to the Clover trading meetup or seminar. And we actually hung out for a little bit, had lunch. Pretty cool guy. Rosario, if you're listening in anywhere out there, big shout out. All right, guys, take care, stay safe, stay green, enjoy the rest of your day. If you're still going, stay disciplined, stay patient, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow morning. Small green day, just $200. Shutting it down. 265. All right, guys, take care.